Hello and welcome back for a new episode at Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Ahmed Assaf, and today we have an amazing guest, Mr. Tony Nutley. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well indeed. Looking forward to chatting to you today.
You're most welcome. Um, just from like 25 years experience in the field of personal growth and development. And there's a quote that change is inevitable, but personal growth is a choice. So if
Sure.
you want to talk from your perspective about that necessity and the why of investing in personal development and growth.
Sure. Well, you start with a quote, so I'll respond with one. I think Jim Rohn said that your personal success and wealth and indeed happiness will seldom exceed the level of your personal development. Because you get out what you put in, and in my own experience, the more I spend, or certainly spent in years gone by, I guess I'm getting to the point now where I'll be thinking about doing less. I get to a certain age where you think it's about time to put my feet up a little bit more. But the more I invested in my personal and indeed professional development, with that notion of growing and learning and investing in my wisdom, knowledge, insight, and all of that kind of stuff, the result was more success, both in the business and in my personal life as well, because personal development kind of shaves off all of the sharp edges in your personality, but at the same time gets you to develop that notion of, I'm beginning to know myself a little bit more. The bits I don't like, I'm going to work on. And in that process, I learn new skills, new insights, knowledge, and actually become just a better person, a better citizen, a better partner, a better employee, better boss, all of those kind of things, because you're constantly watering that plant of growth within yourself.
Mhm. Amazing. So if you want to talk with someone like in an executive level, and he will tell you, I'm doing good, I'm fine, I'm having good results in my professional level. So how would you talk to him and just convince him of the necessity of this personal growth and development?
Well, if you're doing good, that's great. So that's a great place to start. But could you be doing more? Now, doing more, and in fact, here at the college, we've had a whole campaign slogan for this year of doing more in 24. So what do we mean by that? And going back to your executive the same way, you're doing more. What does that mean? It doesn't mean, oh, I want more, 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 in some kind of avarice or greed-driven kind of process. It's I'm doing more with my time. I'm being more productive with what I do. I'm spending more time with the people I care about, maybe my family or my friends. How am I going to do that? I'll need to be more successful. So I've got the resource, either in time or money or other sort of resources that you can use as capital to spend more time with the people that you care about or doing the things that you want to do. Now, nobody's ever sort of been on their deathbed and gone, oh, I wish I'd spent more time at the office. Nobody's done that. But you've got to put the effort in so you've got the time to be able to do the things that you want to do. So doing more doesn't necessarily mean just I'm going to pile up loads of cash all around the house. It's just I'm doing more to spend more time with my family or do whatever it is that I want to do that brings joy, happiness, and love into my life, and indeed the lives of others. No man's an island. We're all connected to other people. And if we've got more resources, we're able to help more people going forward. So yes, you're doing great. Well done to your executive. But I think maybe you could do a little bit more, maybe not more at work, but maybe more in the office, maybe more in yourself to develop yourself to become a better executive, better boss, maybe develop some coaching skills so you can motivate and inspire and coach your team to be more successful in their jobs and in their personal lives. So more is one of those words that can get used in a negative way. Oh, it sounds like you're being a bit greedy. It's not about that. It's about, I want to do more to make the world a better place.
I love your answer. And at the same time, you met someone that he's not doing well and he's stuck with his results or her results. And once you offer him that you have to work a little bit more to discover yourself, make this self-discovery journey, or just work a little bit on your personal growth and development, and they said that it's not the time. I have to do well, then I will work on that. So the priority for them is money and
Yeah.
income. So how could we just engage them with the necessity of that as a priority and the result would be the income that they're looking for, or a relationship, or a business, or whatever their goal it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, I mean, at the risk of sounding flippant, that's a case of putting the horse before the cart. It's not going to happen unless I mean, you could get lucky, I suppose. You could get lucky, get that
I
lucky
don't believe in
break.
luck. I don't believe in
But
luck. Do
well,
you?
I don't either to a certain extent, but occasionally things will happen. The numbers will come up on the lottery or
Yeah.
something. But generally speaking, unless you put the effort in, you're not going to get the result out. Now, one of the things people will say, yeah, I'm going to get round to doing personal and professional development, but I just haven't got time at the moment. And time equals money, that kind of adage that people have in their head sometimes. The problem with that is, of course, that you'll never get out of that level of success or ability that you're at. We've just had the Olympics, and it's just fascinating. And now we've got the Paralympics going on in Paris. And it's extraordinary. None of those people are at that level of absolute excellence without having a coach and without investing a huge amount of time in their skill, their knowledge, their understanding, both their physical well-being, but also their mental architecture and how they process and that mindset for success. All of those things lead them to getting gold and silver and indeed bronze medals, or even being there. To be a fat chance I turn up at the Olympics is never going to happen. But even by being there, you're at a level of the best of the best. So yeah, I'm busy and I'm doing okay, or I want to earn some more money. Well, great. If you really want to be successful, invest in your personal development, because then you really will be successful. Because it depends, of course. Success as a word. We say in NLP, success is a nominalization. You can't pick it up, put it in a wheelbarrow. So what does success really mean to you? If it is just piling up money, good luck with that, because that won't make you happy, and I'll guarantee that to anybody. But if you're going to use that money to do something, to look after your family, maybe to start a charity, or to help people out in some way, or invest in a business, so you employ people, give them work so they get a salary, that's great. But if you think just piling up cash is going to give you some kind of strange happiness, I think you're spiritually bereft, because that's not going to happen. And history shows that doesn't happen. Lonely old men with their millions piled around them dying, feeling sad and sorry for themselves, is a well-known story.
Yeah, and so if we talk to them and they're convinced, okay, I want to go through that journey,
Yeah,
and I will start to invest in myself because this is the best return from my experience. I found
yeah.
out this is the really best return on in myself. And the first step would be setting goals, right?
Well, it's a good place to start setting goals, because that'll give you some
Yep.
kind of direction. So where do you want to go? What does that look like? What will that do for you? And of course, the other thing is, people often say, oh, I've set goals, but nothing really happens. So what was the first step in your goal? And people don't take that first step, or are not sure what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So in coaching, we talk about well-formed outcomes. It's one thing to have a goal, a direction, but let's make it a well-formed, just as a strategy. So what is it you really want? What's the one sentence version? Clear about what that will do for you. So the why of the thing. And then what will it take to make that a reality? Because you can't just live in a dream world. There was this thing back in sort of late 80s, early 90s, you just go ching, 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 ching. Universe will send me a Rolls Royce. It's complete nonsense. You've got to work at it. And you've got to have a plan, and you've got to put in the work and the action. But if you've got a well-formed plan, your well-formed outcome, chances are your goal will become a reality sooner rather than later.
So you define that, and this is very important to inform the audience that setting a goal, it's different from achieving a goal.
Sure. Yeah.
So if you could explain this more, because maybe they didn't get the point.
Sure. So in our culture here, and I don't know if it's the same where you guys live, where you're based in the Middle East, but every New Year, traditionally, people would say, I'm going to set a New Year's resolution. New Year's resolution, I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to change my job, or I'm going to give up smoking, I'm going to lose some weight. Sounds great. You're at a New Year's party. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Great, have another drink. But guess what happens? Nothing happens. So they've got a goal or a wish, really. Yeah, it'd be great to lose some weight. It'd be great to get that new job. It'd be good to give up smoking, because smoking's not great. But nothing happens. Why doesn't it happen? Because it's not a real well-formed outcome. There's no plan, there's no strategy, there's no resource. Maybe you need a coach. In fact, getting a coach is one of the most super fantastic ways of accelerating your personal and indeed professional growth, because it's focused on you and what you want rather than a generalized training program or whatever, although they're great too. And that's our business, selling training programs. But having a coach is super, super powerful, because it's focused 100% on you and what you, excuse me, what you actually want to do with life. But the secret, in my experience, is people often say that they want something, but they're not sure what it is they really want and why. And so the question I often ask my clients when I'm coaching, in fact, I had a very interesting one yesterday as an example. I sort of want this and I sort of want that. Well, you sort of want a lot of things. What do you really want? And for what? What will, whatever that is, do for you? And, we often talk about the goal beyond the goal. So when you achieve that, what will that then lead to? So people have kind of got this notion of a future. One of the sort of phrases, or I guess, things that we often talk about here at UK CPD is this notion of well-formed futures. I have a plan for my life. It's the old thing. Everybody knows this story. People bitch and moan about their lives, but they spend an enormous amount of time and energy planning 2 weeks holiday or vacation, I think you guys will say, in Spain or southern France or something, or in Italy, but very little time planning the rest of their lives, and then wonder why they feel frustrated or unhappy or unsatisfied in some way. And so, but when you point that out to people, they go, yeah, but I don't know how to do that, or I'm not sure. Well, what do you want to do? Where do you want to live? What kind of work do you want to be doing? What kind of people do you want to be spending time with? Because if you don't plan it, someone else is going to plan it for you. And guess what? It's not going to be the best outcome for you. You've got to get in the driving seat. You've got to take control. And you've got to decide where you want to go.
I love that. So if we want to give like practical steps for the people who are lost and they don't know how to set their goals, how
Yeah.
could you help? We could help them to just let them know what they really want. Because sometimes they have like millions of things and they end up of doing nothing.
Yeah.
So they don't know the real want. How could we tell them to find the real want?
Well, it's about a values thing. So, look into the mirror and say, okay, where do I want to be next year? And
Mm.
that's a good place to start. Where do I want to be next year? Do I still want to be wearing these clothes, living in this house, doing this job, having, relationships with these people? If it's yes, great. There's not maybe a lot of change needed. But if you think, well, yeah, there are some, choose one thing to start with. And I always think, yes, have a big vision. Yeah, I'd like to live in a big house and have a swimming pool. That's
Mhm.
great, but that's a long ways off. If you're living in a small flat in, East London, that's a long ways off. So what would be the first step? And that is that first step. Break your big goals down into small, manageable chunks. What's the first step? How are you going to do it? And when are you going to do it by? And make that commitment. Now, sometimes people can't afford to get a coach, or they think, well, I'm not sure I can, engage in that kind of process. Then get somebody to, your friend or your brother or your sister or your mother or your father, somebody to have as an accountability partner. I'm committing to doing whatever it is by this amount of time, and you poke me in the ribs if you see I'm not doing it. I said I'd go to the gym, but I haven't been going. Hang on a minute, you said you'd do it. So somebody who will nag you or give you that kind of motivation to get there. And then the other thing about setting goals is being clear. It's the for what reason this outcome. So once you're really clear about it, make that picture in your head super compelling, bigger, brighter, shinier. The music is like, it's a Spielberg movie. It's huge. Yeah, I want that thing. It's so great. I'm leaping out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning because I really want to get into that thing and start working towards it. But of course, you've got to be realistic. So what's the first step? What's the first step? And there are lots of ways to engage in that's, I guess, process of rejuvenation, renewal, and personal development. Books, courses. When I say books, I don't mean fiction so much. I mean, personal development type books. And there are lots and lots and lots on the market. So some, really, really great authors, online courses or in-person courses that teach you skills maybe around communication, around goal setting, as an example. coaching skills, because you coach yourself as you go through that process. And journaling, I'm a great fan of journaling, and there's a lot of science behind journaling, how spending a little bit of time each week reflecting on the week, thinking about the future, what have I learned, what seems important, journaling. That really has a profound effect on your psyche and helps you to really begin to go grounded, rounded, and ready for growth, because you begin to see patterns in your life. You say, hang on a second, I seem to do this every month. Screw up here, screw up there, spend too much money, go out drinking too much, whatever it is. Yeah, that's what's got to stop. And you begin to see the pattern, and you begin, that's where I need to have the intervention in my personal growth.
I love that. So setting goals is first have a vision where you want to be like after 5 years or 10 years. And from that point, you can break it down into goals, but it must be linked for a purpose, why you're doing that.
Yes.
And yeah, so all that can connect it to your purpose and based on your deep desire, because your desire will give you the fire and just the power to move forward, right?
Yeah.
So we set the goal. Now it's time to achieve it. So how could we give because setting goals is much different than achieving the goal. You have to do the work.
Yeah, sure. Well, this is about self-discipline and, and having the habit to do whatever is required to do. It's easy to just lie in bed all day. Say, oh, I'm too tired, or,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. And then blame everybody else.
Excuses. Yeah.
And they are excuses because, oh, I didn't have time. Well, that's a lie. Everybody's got the same amount of time. It's what you're choosing to do with it. Oh, I was busy watching soap operas. Well, that's probably a waste of time. So, you've got to put in the effort, and, well, I'm tired, or I didn't know how. Well, figure out how. Figure out how. And if you're tired, maybe there's something you're not looking after yourself properly. Maybe you're eating too much junk food, or smoking, or drinking, or whatever. I don't know. It's wasting opportunity to start improving yourself. So clear vision, and then action, 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 action. And if at first you don't succeed, great. That's called feedback. You think, right, that strategy didn't work. I need to tweak, be flexible, tweak my strategy, and have another go. There's no giving up. We mentioned the Olympics. These guys don't give up. They're there, and they're running, and they're jumping, and they're doing the thing because they know what they want. They're very, very clear, and they're putting in the effort. My colleague, he coaches somebody who's very successful in sports, and they get up at 5 o'clock every morning for training. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to get up at 5 o'clock every morning, but the earlier you get up, the more chances you are of being, somewhat successful. It's still a 5 o'clock club, isn't it? Get up, start work. Wasting your life away in bed. You'll be dead enough long enough. Get up and start living. Is the thing.
I love that. So now let's talk a little bit. I love to hear from you about the leadership, because there's lots of books and there's lots of mentors, coaches about leadership, but I want to hear from your perspective and your insights. What do really leadership means to you?
Yeah, well, leadership it means different things to different people. So, in the world at the moment, there's a lot of elections going on, and we've just had one here in the UK. We've got a new prime minister. So that's a form of leadership, but it's pretty big. I'm running the country. That's top end. Most of us are not going to be in that position. Now, some of us, of course, are head of big corporations or big teams, big businesses, and that takes a lot of skill. But really, the leadership starts with me. I look in the mirror in the morning. Am I happy with what I see? And am I the example that I want other people to model? So, when I coach leaders, I'm always encouraging them to think about what do the team think of me? Do they think I'm inspiring? Do they think I'm honest and straight? Do they think I'm setting a good example? Do they think I'm providing the sort of leadership, quote unquote, that they're very clear about where we're going in life, where the organization or the team is going? And they buy into that. Yeah, I can see where we're going. I'm putting in that extra effort because I believe in the vision. I believe in the story. So, leaders, they've got a hard job in the modern world, but it starts with the individual, and we all have to have that notion of personal leadership. What example am I setting for other people? Now, of course, there are lots of leadership models, and they're worth looking at because you can learn something from them. But really, it's about me. And it goes back to this notion of developing self, growing, learning, skills. The coach leader is the new thing at the moment, which I'm a great fan of. So rather than command and control, I'm coaching people to become better in my team, believing that they've got the answers and I don't have to continually tell people what to do, which, empowers them and allows me to move further and further away. Good managers and good leaders make themselves redundant because they're empowering the people around them. And so that's kind of what I think about leadership. And we need good leaders. There's a shortage of good leaders, as watch the 10 o'clock news, and you can see there's a lot of problems in the world. There's a shortage of good leaders who are willing to communicate in such a way as to not just talk, but to listen and to understand and to share that space in a discussion to resolve issues or to create that space for a possibility of a better tomorrow. And that's the other big job when you're at a certain level. That's what leadership becomes, helping to create the possibility of a better tomorrow that's believable for other people. They're going to believe, yeah, I can see if we follow this, tomorrow will be better for me, for my family, for my community. That's the kind of leadership that I believe in.
Tony, as an expert in leadership and in personal development, if you would talk with someone that he had this lack of self-confidence and said, I don't have a leader skills, how would you tell him that you could just grow it and just you can practice it, deliberate practice? So how could you just give him this boost to move and do things different in a different way to get to that point?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So years and years and years ago, there used to be a belief that leaders were born. You were born a leader and the rest of us were not. Now, of course, we know that that's not true. Leadership, like any other skill, can be learnt. Now, you might say, well, yeah, okay, it's easy to say that, but I don't think I've got the confidence or the wife-aware, the ability to step into that leadership role. Well, do you want it? So that's the first thing. Is this a goal for yourself? Do you want it? If so, there are lots of books that you can, online, and most people have got access to the internet to learn about leadership models. And then it's just a case of working on yourself. Confidence is a thing about self-belief, believing in yourself. Now, in my experience, most people are more confident than they think they are. It's just that they don't know what it is. And they haven't got that reference experience of, I can use this skill and ability in this context, So this notion of transferable skills. I'll tell you a short story. About 20 years ago, we ran a mentoring program with the UK Job Centre. And the Job Centre in the UK is if young people have been unemployed for, I think it was more than a year or something like that, they were given a mentor to help them get the skills and get back into work. And so we ran this kind of workshop, and it's interesting how different people took different views of this ability or this resource. Some are, just sit there, I'm not bothered, I don't care, this isn't for me, I've been sent here. Others would bitch and moan about it and complain, and I've been born under an angry star. One person blamed God, which I thought was interesting. Oh, right, you're that important, God's singling you out. I don't think so. But others embraced it. Well, there's this one particular guy who I worked with, and he definitely wanted to get a job and he wanted to change his life, but he really had a low self-esteem. And, he's kind of hiding behind his hair and making himself as small as he could. And so we just took him through a whole series of exercises to build up his self-belief and his confidence. And so the first thing was, can you remember a time when you were confident? And he said, never. Wow, okay. Do you know anybody in your family is confident? No. Okay. Can you think of anybody that you know as an example of confidence? And he thought about it for a while. And he goes, yes, I can think of someone. Tony Blair, our former prime minister. And I went, Tony Blair? And he goes, yes, he must be confident because he stands there and he speaks and he leads the country, so he must be confident. So, okay, what I want you to do is to watch Tony Blair on the telly. Notice how he stands, notice his body language, his gestures, how he speaks. And I want you to start modeling it, just pretending to be him. So, you got to do that for a little while. And then so you come back to the office and we do some more work around, use of language, some NLP techniques around anchoring to get into that confident state. We went into the town. I'd get him to go into shops and to get people to help him, try suit jackets on and things. Because before he would never do that. He'd just faint. He'd just like die. And eventually we got him to go to interviews. And of course he got a job and, happily ever after. So if he can do it, anybody can do it. If I can do it, I was a very shy young man growing up. I was very, very shy. The thought of running a business and being a speaker and, running training programs would never enter my head. It's only through the process of, personal, professional development, getting qualifications, starting and learning as you go, feedback, that you're able to do it. So there's no real secret in a way. The secret is there's no secret. It's just got to put the effort in. Be clear about what you want. So I was very clear once I realized, wait a minute, I think I could do this. Do you want it? Yes, I do. Right, what do I have to do to make this a reality? What has to happen for me to step into the shoes of that person that I want to become?
Love that. I love that story.
Yeah,
And I hope that story would change would do some effect on impact on the people who have this lack of confidence. And those are like practical steps to follow, either from their parents or from someone.
yeah. There's a second part of the story, which I wasn't going to tell you, but I will. So he left the program and I never saw him, for years and blah, 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 blah. And then I was in a shop and I saw him. And I wasn't going to say hello because I didn't want to embarrass him, but he saw me and he came over and he shook my hand and he said, really, really lovely to meet you. He said, you changed my life. He said, I've got this great job. I'm also at college learning computer programming. My life's completely turned around. And I found myself a partner, a girlfriend, and we're going to move in together, get married. He said, that time I spent with you, he said, it was like it was heaven sent. I said, well, I can assure you I'm not heaven sent. I'm not an angel, but I'm really, really pleased. And, I remember leaving that shop thinking, wow, that's an example of how, like that, you can turn your life around. So, there was nothing special about him. There's nothing special about me. Anybody can do it. They just have to know what it is they want, put the effort in, and you're off. Just go, go,
Just
go.
yes, yes. Ask those big two questions. What do you really want? Because you're able, just you have to be willing to do it.
That's right.
Is the
Yeah.
cost for that, and you'll be doing. So, what would be your last message to our audience, Tony?
My last message. Well, you know, if you sit there listening to this podcast and you think, interesting, let me just think, is there anything in my life I want to change? Now, if there is, this is my strategy that I encourage people to do. Get a pen and get some paper, write it down. Then put it to one side, come back to it in a couple of days, go, is this really what I want? And if it is, okay, this is what I want. What's the first step? What's the first step? It's that momentum. It's like, that there's more energy getting the plane off the runway and into the sky than there is flying across the Atlantic. It's getting off the sofa, getting off out of bed, getting out of the house. It's getting that momentum. Once you're going because you'll notice things changing. Well, there's evidence. We talk in NLP about sensory specific evidence. What will I see, hear, and feel that tells me I'm making progress? Write it down. I'm contracting with myself. I'll see this, I'll hear this, and I'll feel great. Now you know you're making progress because you can tick them off. But write it down. Always write it down. Then you can look at it and go, yeah. Put it somewhere you can see it, on the fridge, on your computer, somewhere where you can see it all of the time. That's how you start making a change, I think.
I really love that. So ask yourself what you really want, and just don't say one day. Just say day one and move and do it, because There will be never the right time. Always people are waiting the right time. Time is a very limited resource. Just
Yeah.
do it and do it now. Thank you, Tony, for this amazing episode.
You're more than
And
welcome. Loved it.
thank you. See you soon. Bye bye.